Mission Impossible Fallout is the 6th installment in the Mission Impossible series that's been going on since 1996, but even more beforehand if you count the TV show. And opening up this film, we have a mission that has gone wrong. Ethan Hunt now has to go on another mission to try to course correct what happened beforehand and get these plutonium orbs back into IMF possession. I'm a big fan of the Mission Impossible series. 2 is awful, but we don't count that anymore. The first one's great, so is the third one and the fourth one, and especially Rogue Nation. That's a really great one, and that was directed and written by Christopher McQuarrie, and he came back to do this one, which was a first for the Mission Impossible series. No director had ever come back to direct the next installment until now, and that had me a little curious. Like, I really loved how each director had their own unique take on the Mission Impossible films, but now they're bringing back someone. I wonder how that's going to be with this sequel. After seeing this film, I am glad that McQuarrie came back to work on this film because it wouldn't have been as awesome without him. This is, in my opinion, the best Mission Impossible film that we have ever gotten, and one of the best action films of this decade of all time, like ever. It's so well done. So yes, let's talk about the action first and foremost, because that's the one thing that a lot of people are praising, so let's get it out of the way. It's phenomenal. It's some of the best stuff ever put to screen. A lot of people are talking about the bathroom fight, and it's completely savage. It's like brutal as all hell. Like every punch is felt, like the sound design is cranked up, the editing is superb, every hit you feel as an audience member, you feel totally immersed, but the best part is that the bathroom fight isn't the best action scene in the film. There's a sequence that takes place right before that too that is incredibly suspenseful, and then as the movie continues to go, each scene gets better and better as it keeps going along. This movie seriously has some of the best fight scenes, car chases, foot chases, like, ever made. Where a lot of action movies recently, like around today, would be like, alright, that was a fun time, like, it was a little goofy, a little dumb, but, you know, I had fun with it. This movie's like, yeah, this is a lot of fun, but we're also gonna put you on the edge. We're gonna have you white-knuckling throughout everything, through the excellent direction, the great cinematography that's going on here. It seriously takes all of the great aspects of the Mission Impossible films beforehand, the intrigue and the mystery of the mission, but also the excitement and the adrenaline rush. All of that is like cranked to 11 for this film. And I don't know if they're gonna end the Mission Impossible series with this one, but if they do, I mean, what better way to end? Like, this seriously does end with a huge bang of a film. Like, I honestly can't even really picture like how they could even attempt to top this. Like, there's just so much fantastic stuff going on here from an action movie perspective that it seems almost impossible to try to top it. What makes all these action sequences so great is that you have characters that you care about, and in each action sequence you never are really sure if everyone's going to be okay. Like, you're kind of certain, like, maybe Tom Cruise will be alright because he's the main guy, but everyone else, like, are they in, like, actual serious danger as well? Like, no character feels safe in this film after a while when you're watching it. Like, it's just that suspenseful and you feel so immersed. Like, you feel like you're talking about the mission alongside Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt. But don't get me wrong, this isn't like a non-stop action thriller where like action sequences are happening like every single second. This movie does let you breathe in a couple spots here and there because there is still an intriguing story going on. And a lot of people could probably complain like it's another nuclear villain plot that we've seen before. And yeah, we've seen bad guys in spy movies use nuclear devices to threaten the world, but the way they kind of do it in this film feels a little bit more unique, especially seeing how this film kind of progresses with its plot. There's a couple reveals in a lot of places in this movie, and the way it's executed, it's like, okay, this movie's actually elevating itself. It could have just felt like any ordinary spy thriller with some fantastic action sequences, but the story is actually being elevated, not just because we like the characters we're watching, but also because Christopher McQuarrie is doing a unique take on the screenplay, and he's throwing in a lot of twists that you might not have seen coming earlier, and that's fantastic. I don't know what else I expected from the writer of The Usual Suspects, which has like one of the best twist endings of all time, but still, there's still a bunch of twists here that McQuarrie really did handle perfectly. And because you actually have a good plot that you're dropped into, because you actually are with these characters that you like in a story that actually has you riveted, the action sequences become even better because you feel the tension, you feel the stakes from a filmmaking perspective, but also from a writing perspective. Everything is coming at you to get you just so adrenalized. I walked out of this movie like heart pounding. Like, it's that exciting and enthralling of an action movie. Like, my heart was pounding, like, even like 2 hours after I saw it, I was like, Jesus Christ, is this ever gonna stop? I don't want it to, but will it ever? Also, the score for this movie, composed by Lauren Balfe. He's a guy who I've really admired lately, and this score is quite excellent. It really gets you immersed with this experience as well. It adds so much to the action sequences that you watch, and I hope Lauren Baffi does a lot more great work in the future because he is a great rising talent in the movie music industry. This is the longest Mission Impossible film to date, but I honestly could have watched a 3-hour cut of this. If it meant having more of this great story, if it meant having great action sequences included in even more so, then I would be all in for it. Obviously, I'm happy with the product that we got, but still, if they had any more to do, then I would have been totally up for it. Especially because I really like these characters a lot. Ethan Hunt is a character that I have loved, and in this film I really like how they kind of build on the paranoia that they kind of set up in Rogue Nation. They're carrying on, which is another thing I liked about this film overall, is that they are continuing the story that they did in Rogue Nation. It's not like they just vaguely mention it like they do a couple of the other Mission Impossible films. Like, no, this is like a direct sequel to it, and they are continuing that storyline, which is why Ilsa Faust comes back, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and I'm glad she's back because she's a really great addition to the series. I loved her in Rogue Nation, and they brought her back in a way that felt natural, felt like she had to be in this film. We can't have this movie without her, and that was fantastic. Even a character like Benji Dunn, who as a comedic side character could get annoying after a while, but because it's Simon Pegg, and also because Christopher McQuarrie really knows how to handle this character, he's not annoying. He actually has a lot of funny moments, and he's not just the goofball sidekick. Like, he actually does get involved in a lot of the action sequences yet again, and I thought that was really great for this character. They still treat his character with respect, and he has even more to do than he did in the last couple movies. Same thing goes with Alec Baldwin. He actually has a little bit more to do in this film than Rogue Nation, and I loved him in this one, and I really liked him in Rogue Nation, but in this one in particular, I loved him. And Ving Rhames, it's always great to see Ving Rhames back. He's such a staple to the series, and there's one scene in particular where I really loved him. He has like this sweet heart-to-heart moment with someone, and I was like, oh man, you're touching me in the feels, Ving! One of my complaints with Rogue Nation was the villain overall, Sean Harris as Solomon Lane. Though he did a good job performance-wise, I just didn't think there was enough screen time for him to really feel that intimidating or that much of a, terrible presence. But in this film, I think not only do we have the previous film to build upon his character, but I think they did a little bit more with him to actually make him more intimidating, and he's now my second favorite MI villain that we've gotten. Philip Seymour Hoffman is still the best one, but Sean Harris, he did a fantastic job as Solomon Lane in this one. I like how they continue to build on that character. Another character I really loved is Henry Cavill, playing August Walker, who's this really great CIA agent, but he and Ethan Hunt definitely have some conflicting views on how to go about their plans, so seeing them kind of butt heads for a little bit was actually pretty well done. It's like seeing someone like Ethan Hunt and James Bond kind of work together. Like, you know they have different ideologies, but they're being forced to work together, and they just kind of have to make it work. It also helps that just Henry Cavill is built, he's jacked, he's really tall, and he's able to participate in these action sequences and make them even more brutal and tense. Like, seriously, the reloading of his arms in the bathroom fight scene, and just the way he delivers his punches and knocks people out, it's like, God, like the bathroom fight, I know there's other action sequences that are amazing too, but that bathroom fight in particular is going to go down in history as one of the best action sequences ever. As well as like the third act, it's probably going to go down as like one of the best climaxes to a film ever, where they give every single character something to do. It's not like Tom Cruise is like carrying all the weight or anything. Like, everyone has a role in this third act, and that was fantastic. Because it could be very easy to just have, well, Ethan Hunt's, he's the action guy, he's Tom Cruise, he's going to do everything, and he does like a lot of the more intense stuff, but you still have Rebecca Ferguson and Simon Pegg and Cavill doing stuff, and Ving Rhames still has stuff to do. Like, the characters still are participating, and they don't feel like they're brushed aside, which is great, because overall this is a team working together to stop the villain, and you don't want the team brushed aside so one guy can steal the show. And besides my nitpick with the Mission Impossible series, like the opening credits where they show the images from the movie, that's like my biggest nitpick with every Mission Impossible film. Besides that, I really don't have any issues with this movie. I really like the way McQuarrie handled the script for this film. It could have come across as just another typical spy thriller, but through his execution and directing wise, I think they really elevated it. The action sequences are the best we've ever seen, not just in a Mission Impossible film, but like the best since that movie right there, Mad Max Fury Road. I continue to like the characters from the last one, and I think they built upon those characters very well. And I also really like the new additions like Henry Cavill and Vanessa Kirby, who shows up in this film as a character that kind of took me by surprise in a few different ways. I won't spoil it, but she really did have more of a presence than I originally expected. And even Angela Bassett, though her role is very limited, like, she does her part very well. Like, she just brings a lot to that character through the short amount of screen time she has. So overall, everyone is acting their asses off. McQuarrie McQuarrie is directing the hell out of this thing. The cinematography looks phenomenal. The action sequences are just, like, you can grip the armrests of your seat and you'll probably break them at one point. It's that suspenseful, especially the last 30 minutes of this movie where everything just comes everything just comes together and it's like, oh Jesus, are they gonna make it? What's gonna happen? It's so unpredictable too, which is another plus. I've never done this with a Mission Impossible film before, but my grade, I'm gonna have to give it the highest I can give it. It did everything it needed to be a great action movie, but it also went above and beyond with the characters and the writing for them and just the story overall. I felt completely immersed with the experience. See this in IMAX, see it in the highest quality theater you can, because it's absolutely worth it. I'm gonna give Mission Impossible Fallout an A+. This is one of the best films of this year, one of the best action films ever made in my opinion, and I know I've only seen it once, so maybe if I see it again, like, okay, it's not that great, but I doubt it, because I saw a lot of fantastic stuff last night, and it's wonderful. It's one of the best action films ever helmed. Christopher McQuarrie, glad you came back. I hope you work more in the action film genre, whether it's with Tom Cruise or someone else, because you have a true talent, my friend. But if you've seen Mission Impossible Fallout, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.